At first glance, narcissists may appear to be the epitome of cleverness, charm, and sophistication. They exude confidence, often creating an illusion of being in control, but this perception is far from the truth. Beneath their carefully constructed façade lies a web of insecurity and predictable patterns. Narcissists are not as cunning or intelligent as they project themselves to be. In fact, they are consistently revealing their vulnerabilities without even realizing it. Whether through their words, actions, or over-reliance on their own delusions, they unintentionally provide clues about what might ultimately disarm them, and the strategies most effective in dismantling their manipulative behavior. Understanding this dynamic requires peeling back the layers of their behavior and seeing beyond the surface. A narcissist's ability to persist with their toxic antics doesn't stem from superior intellect, strength, or an inherent mastery of manipulation. While it's true that they are adept at mirroring, deceiving, and spinning lies with remarkable ease, these skills are not the reason they so often evade consequences. Instead, their endurance stems from the misinterpretation of their tactics by those around them. Much like facing a grease fire, addressing narcissistic behavior with conventional methods only exacerbates the problem, creating more harm and deepening the danger for those involved. The analogy of a grease fire perfectly encapsulates the challenge of dealing with a narcissist. To the untrained eye, all flames appear the same. The natural response is to extinguish them using water. However, water intensifies a grease fire, causing it to spread uncontrollably. Similarly, a narcissist may seem like just another difficult individual, leading people to react in ways that inadvertently empower them further. Confronting their behavior without fully understanding its nature often results in frustration, confusion, and even greater emotional harm. Recognizing this parallel is crucial in dismantling their influence effectively and safely. What truly dismantles a narcissist is not engaging on their terms or feeding into their calculated narratives. It lies in the understanding that their power is an illusion maintained by our inability to see through their disguise. Just as fighting a grease fire requires specialized knowledge and tools, dealing with a narcissist requires a strategic, informed approach. Awareness is the first step, recognizing the signs, patterns, and triggers that define their behavior. Armed with this understanding, one can neutralize their tactics without escalating the situation, reclaiming control and minimizing their impact. The key takeaway is this: narcissists thrive not because they are invincible or unbeatable, but because their opponents often don't realize what they're up against. They are their own greatest weakness, constantly exposing their insecurities and fears. The power lies in recognizing this truth and refusing to play by their rules. By adopting a calm, strategic mindset, one can not only protect themselves but also begin to dismantle the hold narcissists have over their lives. Understanding the mindset of certain individuals, especially those with narcissistic tendencies, can feel like solving an enigma. However, once you truly comprehend how they think and identify the forces that drive their behaviors, you'll find an almost unsettling predictability in their actions. As outlined in previous discussions, their thought process revolves around 5 distinct patterns. Each and every thought that crosses their mind is intricately tied to sustaining an exaggerated and fantastical self-image, an image that borders on delusion. This self-created illusion is not just a fragment of their psyche, it is the cornerstone of their existence, shaping every interaction and decision. At the heart of their behavior lies an extraordinary indifference, a complete and total lack of concern for anything outside their fantasy world. What often appears to be their upper hand in social dynamics stems from this very trait. They don't just pretend not to care, they are entirely devoid of it. The idea of caring for others simply does not enter their consciousness, because in their eyes, you are not seen as a complete person. You're not recognized as an individual with intrinsic value, emotions, or complexities. To them, relationships are merely tools or extensions of their own needs and desires, devoid of any mutual depth or genuine connection. This absence of empathy is not a temporary lapse or a quirk of personality, it is a fundamental void. They do not develop the capacity for understanding others' emotions or perspectives. nor do they cultivate an awareness of other people as autonomous beings with their own inner worlds. Everything is perceived through an all-or-nothing lens. For them, there is no room for nuance, compromise, or the in-between. It's a rigid, binary world of black and white, where people and situations are either entirely for their benefit or entirely against it. Their inability to embrace the subtleties of human interaction is what fuels their predictability. Their every action is a calculated move to uphold their inflated sense of self, leaving no space for growth, vulnerability, or genuine human connection. Once you begin to recognize this, their patterns become not only predictable but also somewhat mechanical, a sequence of repetitive, self-serving behaviors masquerading as complexity. In conclusion, while their behaviors may seem confusing or even intimidating at first glance, a deeper understanding reveals them to be bound by their own limitations. Their rigid worldview, lack of empathy, and inability to perceive others as equals confine them to a predictable cycle. And perhaps the most liberating realization is this: their so-called upper hand is little more than the prison they've built for themselves, trapping them in a fantasy they can never escape. The illusion of grandeur and the narcissistic spiral. Immersed in an illusory grandeur and an exaggerated sense of superiority, they become consumed by a singular obsession themselves. Every action, every decision they make, pivots around one question: how does this serve me? Nothing else matters. Empathy, fairness, and collaboration are discarded in favor of self-serving strategies. To maintain their self-centered worldview, they go to great lengths, bending and shaping their behavior to manipulate their surroundings. They master social cues, decode body language, and mimic mannerisms to appear relatable. They present themselves as omniscient, weaving tales of expertise and victimhood to command attention and garner sympathy. But the manipulation doesn't stop there. Their survival strategy involves projecting their flaws onto others, deflecting blame to escape accountability. This deflection ensures they remain unchallenged in their own eyes, always in the right, always above reproach. With calculated precision, they switch between their likable human façade and their true selves, using charm as a weapon when it suits their goals. Partners, family members, friends, colleagues, even their own children are not spared. The cruelty they exhibit behind closed doors often contrasts sharply with the charisma they display in public, creating a duality that keeps their victims off balance. Why do they do this? The answer lies in their insatiable need to inflate their ego. The suffering of others becomes their fuel, a twisted source of satisfaction that reinforces their delusional self-image. Every action, no matter how elaborate or seemingly altruistic, ultimately serves one purpose: personal gain. This predictability is a hallmark of their behavior, as everything they do boils down to a single formula: what benefits them the most. Narcissists operate in absolutes, perceiving every situation in extremes. To them, there are only two possible outcomes, one favorable and one unfavorable. Understanding this binary worldview is key to deciphering their motives. By identifying the preferable outcome, you can often predict their next move with unnerving accuracy. Their world, stripped of nuance, is a battlefield where only their desires and ambitions matter, leaving those around them to navigate the fallout of their relentless self-centeredness. Through this lens, the facade of grandeur reveals itself as hollow, a desperate attempt to mask insecurities and avoid the vulnerability of accountability. Yet, it is this very hollowness that defines them, shaping every aspect of their interactions and leaving behind a trail of manipulation, hurt, and disillusionment for those unfortunate enough to be ensnared in their orbit. The actions of such individuals are windows into their intentions. When they hurl outrageous accusations at you, they are often projecting their own misdeeds. These accusations serve as a distorted mirror, reflecting their guilt rather than yours. If they evade direct questions, abruptly change the topic, or attempt to manipulate your perception of reality through gaslighting, it's a strong indication that you've stumbled upon an inconvenient truth. Every calculated gesture, whether it's breadcrumbing you with false kindness or offering fleeting moments of warmth, carries a hidden agenda. Even the simple act of you expressing an opinion or establishing boundaries can provoke them. To them, such acts are not expressions of your autonomy, but direct challenges to their perceived authority, challenges they are quick to punish or counteract with deliberate defiance. At the core of their behavior lies a relentless self-centeredness, fueled by an insatiable need to preserve their grandiose self-image. Their actions, when viewed through this lens, may become less puzzling, but that doesn't make enduring their presence any less dangerous. They operate without guilt, remorse, or any semblance of a moral filter. Their ruthlessness stems from a fundamental absence of empathy. They simply do not care about anyone but themselves. Recognizing this harsh truth is liberating. It allows you to shed the undue shame and guilt they often try to impose upon you. Their inability to reciprocate kindness, love, or respect is not a reflection of your value or worth. It is entirely rooted in their limitations. By accepting this reality, you reclaim your sense of self and shield your dignity from their manipulative grasp. Understanding their motives is the first step toward freeing yourself from their toxic influence and taking back control over your life. Breaking free from the chains of narcissism. Imagine a grease fire. The more you try to extinguish it with water, the fiercer and more uncontrollable it becomes. Engaging with a narcissist works in much the same way. Every interaction, every response, every ounce of attention you give them only fuels their insatiable need for control and validation. The harsh truth is that the only way to neutralize their hold on you is to step away completely, cutting off all ties that bind you to their toxicity. At first, this decision may feel overwhelming, even impossible. The fog of manipulation and confusion they create can obscure your sense of reality, leaving you questioning your worth and your ability to stand on your own. But here's the truth: once you take that brave step to distance yourself, clarity begins to emerge. The oppressive weight lifts, and you start to see the world and yourself more clearly. You'll discover that life not only goes on without them, but thrives. You'll realize you are capable, resilient, and worthy of joy. You are enough just as you are. You always have been. No narcissist, no toxic relationship, and no manipulative cycle can diminish your inherent value. What you truly deserve is a life free of their chaos, a life where your well-being takes precedence. So, shift your focus inward. Rebuild your sense of self. Pour your energy into nurturing your soul, healing your heart, and rediscovering your passions. Leaving behind a narcissist is not an act of defeat, it's a courageous reclaiming of your power. Remember, your journey forward is not about them, it's about you. A brighter, freer, and more authentic future awaits, and you have everything within you to embrace it fully.